Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was not only a heavyweight world champion, he was a technical revolution that redefined what it meant to box in this division. In an era dominated by powerful and static punchers, Ali brought an unprecedented combination of foot speed and fluidity. His outbox strategy was to stay at range, dictate the pace, and land without being hit. He used his reach and a fast jab as a controlling weapon not to cause immediate damage, but to accumulate scoring shots that broke his opponent's morale. That jab opened the way for straight rights or quick hooks, while keeping his rivals trapped in a fight they could not control. Ali excelled at lateral movement, gliding around the ring like a lightweight trapped in a heavyweight's body. He was literally dancing on the ring. This mobility allowed him to avoid his opponent's power zones and force them to turn, which required more energy from those chasing him. Every step to the side or backward was not an escape, but a maneuver to create an angle for attack or to reset the fight in the center of the ring where he controlled distance better. His opponents had to advance constantly, and Ali knew that repeated pressure round after round would eventually wear them down. This wear was at the heart of his plan. Ali observed and did not aim to finish quickly unless a clear opening appeared. His approach was to extend the fight because the more the rounds passed, the more his relative speed became overwhelming. Fights like those against Ernie Terrell or Jimmy Ellis perfectly illustrate this approach. Ali dictated every exchange and could switch to offense late in the fight with greater volume and precision, knowing his opponent no longer had the energy to respond effectively. His mastery of the outbox also relied on complete confidence in his reflexes. He could fight with a low guard, just to kick faster punches to his opponents. He could also step back just enough to slip a straight punch, then instantly return with a jab or a clean 1-2. This style demanded exceptional physical and mental discipline because it required staying focused and mobile for the entire fight. His outbox style was not just a technique, it was a philosophy. Mike Tyson built his legend on a level of fighting intensity rarely seen in a heavyweight. His strategy relied on constant pressure and close-range work, where he could exploit his power to the maximum. From the opening bell, Tyson advanced relentlessly, using constant head movement to reduce his opponent's attacking angle. This movement, inherited from Cus D'Amato's school, allowed him to close distance quickly and therefore become a serious danger. In fact, he offered no pause, turning every round into a fight for survival. Once in range, Tyson unleashed fast short combinations, often starting to the body, then moving to the head in the same sequence. This alternation forced his opponents to defend multiple areas at once, which opened gaps. His left hook, thrown with rare explosiveness, was often the decisive weapon, but his right uppercut could be just as destructive. Every punch had a specific purpose, either to cause damage or to prepare the next opening. Tyson was not looking to win on points. He aimed to end the fight as soon as possible. This inside pressure required impeccable conditioning. Tyson had to maintain a high pace while staying compact and explosive. His relatively modest height for a heavyweight forced him to fight lower, which reduced the target area and increased the power generated from the ground. By constantly moving forward, he imposed enormous mental stress on rivals who knew every mistake or moment of hesitation could end the fight. The first rounds were often the most dangerous against Tyson. He sought to impose his tempo, immediately forcing his opponents to retreat or exchange in a zone where they were disadvantaged. Fighters who tried to keep him at range had to absorb his power while dealing with the psychological wear of a man who never stopped closing the space. Those who stayed still quickly became easy targets because Tyson could deliver multiple powerful blows without giving them a break. His explosive inside pressure produced some of the fastest finishes in modern boxing history. Opponents like Trevor Berbick or Michael Spinks learned that once trapped, it was almost impossible to get back into the fight. This seemingly simple strategy was in reality a blend of technical discipline, raw power, and predatory instinct. Floyd Mayweather Jr. Floyd Mayweather Jr. built one of the most dominant careers in modern history through a defensive strategy centered on counterpunching. Rather than overwhelming his opponents with volume or raw power, he relied on timing. Added to this was the ability to read movements and the art of turning an opponent's attack into an opening to strike. His slightly angled stance reduced the target area and allowed him to deflect punches while staying ready to counter. Every exchange was calculated, and every counter precise, minimizing risk while maximizing efficiency. Mayweather mastered the art of dictating the pace of a fight without necessarily imposing himself physically. He often positioned himself just at the edge of his opponent's reach, forcing them to commit. As soon as the punch came, he would shift slightly or block with his lead arm. This created the perfect angle to respond with a straight right or a short hook. These clean shots stood out to the judges and made every opponent's attempt costly. As the rounds went on, rivals became more hesitant and aware that any poorly prepared attack could be punished with a precise counter. This defensive approach demanded constant concentration. Mayweather read his opponent's body language to identify signals before each punch. He knew when they were loading a straight or preparing a hook, which allowed him to adjust his position so that their attack missed completely. This psychological control let him manage the fight's intensity on his own terms. Even against fighters known for pressure or power, Mayweather held the center of the ring by forcing them to fight at his pace. Energy conservation was a key element of his style. By avoiding prolonged exchanges, he limited physical wear while letting his opponents tire themselves out. This strategic choice allowed him to slightly increase activity in decisive rounds, which secured the points needed for victory. Performances against fighters like Juan Manuel Marquez or Canelo Alvarez showed how he could completely neutralize an opponent by taking away their best weapons while building a clear lead on the scorecards. Mayweather did not seek to deliver spectacular wars. He mastered the art of boxing by hitting without being hit, and this is what allowed him to dominate his generation. This strategy let him control every moment of every fight until the very end. Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao built his success on pure speed and attacks from angles his opponents never saw coming. His strategy relied on fast footwork that let him move to the sides before unleashing combinations. Instead of advancing in straight lines, the Filipino fighter would cut angles and strike where the guard was open. His left hand thrown straight or as a hook often came after a shift that completely disoriented his opponent. Pacquiao did not look to set a slow pace. He entered quickly with flurries, then stepped out immediately. His attacks could include 5 or 6 punches in a row, often mixing head and body. Opponents used to setting up counters found themselves overwhelmed because Pacquiao gave them no time to anticipate. His ability to change direction right after striking gave him a constant advantage in exchanges. His power did not rely solely on brute force. He had incredible execution speed. The faster the punch came, the less time the opponent had to see it. His fights against boxers like Ricky Hatton or Miguel Cotto showed the effectiveness of this approach. With one step or burst of speed, the combination was already landing before the guard could close. Pacquiao knew that by repeating these sequences, he could break an opponent's confidence and impose his rhythm. His style required exceptional conditioning. Every entry and exit meant constant leg work. He never stayed still long enough to offer an easy target. This mobility also made his punches more unpredictable because the angle of delivery changed with each exchange. An opponent had to defend against a punch that seemed to come straight but arrived slightly from the side or on a diagonal. Pacquiao did not simply repeat the same pattern. He varied attack angles with combinations of different execution speeds and distances adjusted for each shot. This forced opponents to guess rather than react. That uncertainty created openings that Pacquiao exploited immediately. His style was not about wearing down slowly, but about hitting fast and hard until the defense collapsed. Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier moved forward without pause. His strategy was simple yet relentless. Close the distance, stay close, and hit without letting up. He knew how to slip straight punches and work his way inside. Once in range, he unleashed flurries to the body and head. His left hook was his main weapon, and on its own, it could end a fight with a single impact. Frazier didn't wait for mistakes, but he knew how to force them. Every step forward put his opponent under pressure. Even when he took a shot, he kept advancing. This constant presence wore opponents down mentally as much as physically. Fighters who tried to keep him at a distance had to punch constantly, and even then Frazier knew that pace would eventually drain them. His bodywork was brutal. He targeted the ribs, the liver, the chest, anything that could slow his opponent. Those accumulated shots made movement slower, opened up the guard, and left the head vulnerable to his hook. Once the guard weakened, he turned up the power and looked for the finishing blow. That's how he dropped Muhammad Ali in their first fight, proving his pressure could break even the greatest. Frazier always kept a high pace. He almost never backed up, preferring to take one shot to land two. This style demanded extreme conditioning and an iron will. Each round, he repeated the same pattern, convinced his opponent would eventually give in. He knew that if he forced the fight into his preferred range, the exchanges would work in his favor. His strategy had a strong psychological effect. Opponents who saw Frazier coming forward after every shot began to lose confidence. This intensity made the rounds long and exhausting. Those who tried to counter often ended up trapped on the ropes, where he could unleash power punches without giving them a way out. Frazier wasn't looking to win on points. He aimed for physical domination and mental submission. His combination of relentless bursts and constant pressure made him an opponent no one wanted to face at his best. Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard used his speed as a tool for control. He spent much of the fight managing distance, staying out of range until unleashing lightning-fast attacks. His footwork allowed him to circle his opponent or change rhythm before striking at any moment. Also, he habitually feinted with his jab before drawing out his opponent's reactions and create openings for counters. His sudden bursts could turn a calm round into an intense assault, leaving his opponent unable to respond. Leonard was patient. He observed and tested his opponent's guard with his jab, then exploded late in the round. His flurries in the last 10 seconds often swayed the judges. He combined speed and precision, making every exchange dangerous for anyone trying to keep up. This ability to strike just before the bell became one of his trademarks. Against Marvin Hagler, he showed the perfect example of his strategy. He avoided prolonged exchanges and scored points with quick combinations. Hagler had to chase him, never finding a comfortable rhythm. This control of distance and tempo gave Leonard the edge even against stronger fighters. Leonard also knew when to press. When he sensed his opponent slowing or losing focus, he launched a sequence of 5 or 6 punches without pause, forcing a disorganized reaction. In those moments, he often landed clean shots to the head before finishing to the body. This mix of speed and target changes prevented opponents from predicting his next strike. His physical conditioning was essential to his style. He had to keep moving constantly while saving enough energy for sudden bursts. Even after 10 rounds, he could still produce a flurry that shifted the momentum of the fight. Few fighters could maintain that explosiveness until the final bell. Leonard wasn't a constant brawler, but he knew how to pick his moments. He understood that every attack needed visual and strategic impact. Each quick sequence was meant to land, hurt, and break his opponent's morale, and to impress the judges. Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez never rushes. He starts each fight by observing his opponent and testing distance with simple jabs. He reads movements like an open book, memorizing habits and openings. This real-time analysis lets him land his most dangerous punches at the perfect moment. He stays calm even under pressure and draws opponents into attacking so he can punish them. By stepping back slightly or lowering his guard, he lures them into his range. The moment the punch comes, he counters with precision, often to the body where the impact slows the opponent immediately. This methodical targeting erodes resistance and disrupts rhythm. His left hook to the body is one of his trademarks. When he lands it clean, the opponent either steps back or freezes, opening the head for the next combination. Canelo switches levels, working the body to drop the guard before sending a powerful right hand upstairs. This simple yet calculated pattern is one reason he dominates exchanges at mid-range. He doesn't look for high volume. Every punch is loaded and deliberate, making his style economical but deadly. Fighters who try to win with activity run into a wall, as Canelo makes them pay for every attempt. His compact defense and subtle footwork let him stay in range without taking damage. Against Sergey Kovalev, he displayed his classic approach. In the early rounds, he absorbed punches without panic before finding the perfect opening in the 11th. That decisive shot was no accident, but the result of 10 rounds of observation and preparation. Canelo knew exactly when and where to strike. This ability gives him control over time and rhythm, making even quick fighters fall into his game. Once he identifies the flaw, he strikes with surgical efficiency, rarely giving a second chance. George Foreman. George Foreman imposed a brutal fight built on constant pressure and devastating power. His footwork was simple but effective. Move straight ahead and trap his opponent against the ropes or in the corners. Once cornered, the opponent became a fixed target, unable to escape Foreman's force. Foreman didn't waste time on unnecessary feints. Every step forward had a clear purpose. He wanted to shrink the ring and remove any escape routes. His weight and power were his main allies. His punches were heavy and accurate, often delivered in bursts that left opponents with little time to recover. His technique favored power over speed, but his steady footwork made up for it. He advanced methodically, controlling the ring like a predator closing in on its prey. This approach let him dictate the pace, forcing the other man to fight under his dominance. Against Joe Frazier, Foreman showed how his pressure could overwhelm even the best. He dismantled Frazier in just a few rounds, trapping the champion and denying him any response. That fight revealed not only Foreman's raw strength but also the psychological crushing behind his style. Foreman knew raw power wasn't enough. He managed his energy to keep up the pressure for the entire fight. His endurance let him repeat his attacks, each one adding to his opponent's fatigue. The cumulative effect was often decisive. His strategy reduced opponents to constant defense. Few could survive long against that wall of force.